Welcome. This is our state school board meeting for today. First thing I'd like you to do is make sure that you silence your cell phones, cut them off, put them on vibrate or whatever we need to do there. I want to remind everyone that this meeting is live streamed. So we are here at the Mississippi Board of Education for April 17th, 2025. It is 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the fourth floor boardroom of the Central High School building, which is the location of the Mississippi Department of Education, located at 359 North West Street in Jackson, Mississippi. So I officially call this meeting to order and request that Dr. Barrett and Crosby, if they're online, to say hello and identify yourselves and where your location. Where is your location?
Dr. Wendy Barrett, New Orleans, Louisiana. Good morning.
It's a long way from St. Martin, Miss Dr. Barrett. Glad to have you with us. Is Crosby on at this point? They're probably having technical difficulty in the Gulfport School District today. At this time, I'll ask Bill Jacobs to say the Pledge of Allegiance and Mike Pruitt to lead us in the invocation.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads, please. God, you bless us all in so many ways. And the prayer this morning is that you bless the work that we do, that you bless the work that our students in this state and that our teachers and our administrators do. And God, we want to thank you for Easter. We ask these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. You received the minutes of the March 20th, 2025 board meeting and for our special call meeting of March the 21st in your packets, and you also have them in front of you today. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from those two meetings? Mr. McGehee?
Second.
Ms. Warner? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstain. You also have before you the agenda for today's meeting. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mayo? Mr. Pruitt? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You also have before you the, let's see, hold on just a minute. Yep. You have before you the consent agenda for today's meeting. For those that are new to us, we receive our packets well before this meeting. We have a chance to go through them, call the directors or call the state superintendent for any clarification. So we have a large number of items that we take care of later on in our meeting with one vote. So that's what this consent agenda is about. Motion to approve the consent agenda for today's meeting. Ms. Werner and Ms. Stroud. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? I think, Gene, we're to you, aren't we? One of the fun parts of our meeting.
We have a good one today. So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. Good morning, Mr. East, Dr. Evans, and state board members. It is my honor to present to you 4 incredibly accomplished students for this month's board recognitions. First, we are honoring 2 students who earned the prestigious Legion of Valor Award. This award is presented to cadets who have shown outstanding excellence in military and academic subjects while enrolled in the JROTC program. To be considered for this award, cadets must be in the top 10% of their JROTC class and have demonstrated outstanding leadership and involvement in both their school and community. In 2024, only 22 Army JROTC cadets from 300,000 worldwide were chosen as Legion of Valor recipients. Today, we are recognizing 2 of these students. The first is Cadet Captain Brooke Paul, a senior at Florence High School and the Battalion Operations and Training Officer in Florence's JROTC program. Cadet Paul, please join Mr. East and Dr. Evans at the front of the boardroom. Cadet Paul is currently a member of the JRTC drill team and leadership and bowl team. And in the past, she has served as battalion service learning coordinator and as platoon leader. Cadet Paul's numerous JRTC awards include the Superior Cadet Award for the 23-24 school year, the Association of the United States Army JRTC Leadership and Academic Award, the Vietnam Veterans of America JRTC Award, 3 Distinguished Cadet Awards for academic excellence, and the Cadet of the Semester by Florence High School and the Rankin County School District. In addition to JRTC, Cadet Paul is a member of the Florence High School Student Council, the Foreign Language Club, the Random Act of Kindness Club, and the Big Red Band. She has received certificates of excellence for Best All Around, Student of the Month, Student of the Quarter, U.S. History, English, ACT Workies, and several more honors. She's on the All-A Honor Roll and earned ACT Honors. After graduation, Cadet Paul plans to attend Mississippi State University and pursue a degree in physics with a minor in mathematics. Cadet Paul, you are welcome to make remarks at this time.
Very, very, very astute. Talk loud, too.
Hello. Good morning. I would just like to thank Florence High School and the JRTC program we have there. I can fully say that I would not have been able to do this without the support I've received at Florence High School or the growth I've had throughout the Army JRTC program at Florence High School. So thank you.
Our next Legion of Valor awardee is Cadet Major Matthew Reed, a senior at Northwest Rankin High School and Battalion Executive Officer in Northwest Rankin's JRTC program. And Cadet Reed is joining Mr. East and Dr. Evans at the front of the boardroom. In the past, Cadet Reed has served as the Battalion Command Sergeant Major, the Drill Team Coordinator, the JLab Academic Team Captain, and his other JRTC activities include Raider Team, PT Team, and the Orienteering Team. Cadet Reed also excels in academics. His current and past extracurricular activities include the National Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta President and Treasurer, Science National Honor Society Vice President, Spanish Club Co-President, Spanish National Honor Society, Science Ambassador, and ACT Prep Club President. His numerous awards include Superior Cadet Award, Scholastic Award of Academic Excellence, the ACT 30+ Award, and awards for academic excellence, community service, and citizenship. Cadet Reed has been accepted to Mississippi State University to study aerospace engineering with a focus on aeronautics, and he also plans to join the Air Force ROTC program. Cadet Reed, you're welcome to make remarks at this time.
Good morning. It's an honor to be recognized for this award. I'd like to express my gratitude to the Northwest Rankin High School overall and also to the JRTC program there. The experiences and opportunities that they've presented me has allowed me to earn this award today and to be where I'm at. Thank you.
Our next 2 honorees are members of the Air Force JRTC program who were selected for the Air Force JRTC Flight Academy. This is an 8-week summer aviation training program that results in students earning a private pilot certification. The Flight Academy is a collaboration between the aerospace industry and the Air Force to promote aviation careers among high school students and address the national pilot shortage. The first honoree is Cadet Colonel Cody Quarles, a senior at Lafayette High School and the current Corps Commander of the Lafayette Air Force JRTC. Cadet Quarles is one of 171 cadets selected for last summer's Flight Academy from among 800 applicants nationwide, and the only cadet selected from Mississippi. At the conclusion of the academy, he earned his private pilot and drone license. In his 4 years of Air Force JROTC, Cadet Quarles has attained the highest rank possible. He served as the commander of the Armed Regulation Drill Team, Sabre Team, and Academic Bowl. He has been awarded the Military Order of the World Wars Award of Merit, the National Sojourners Award, the National Air and Space Forces Association Outstanding Cadet, and the Aerospace Education Foundation Award. He is a member of the National Technical Honor Society, the National Honor Society, and Mu Alpha Theta, and is a National Ham Radio Youth Ambassador. Cadet Quarles has been awarded the Air Force Commander Scholarship to attend Mississippi State University, along with the Lucky Day Leadership Scholarship and an ACT Academic Scholarship. Cadet Quarles will be studying cybersecurity, working toward a commission as an officer in the United States Air Force. Cadet Quarles, you're welcome to make remarks at this time. You could pick the mic up, I think, too. So if you want, yeah. I don't know, is it?
Good morning.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay. I would just like to thank Lafayette High School.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. And I would like to thank Major Rice as well for pushing me for all these good opportunities. Without him, I don't know if I'd be able to get these opportunities or where I would be. So I just want to express my gratitude out because I know I don't do it enough to you, Major. And I want to express my gratitude to my parents as well because they worked very hard to raise me right and in a good home. And I also want to express gratitude to my high school counselor because she does a great job as well. And I would just like to thank you all for inviting me here today. So.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, we will recognize Cadet Bryn Butler, who is in her 3rd year of Air Force JROTC at Madison Central High School and has been selected to the Flight Academy for this summer. And Cadet Butler is joining Mr. East and Dr. Evans at the front of the room. Cadet Butler's dedication to aviation is evident through her participation in the Jet A Summer Flight and STEM program, where she developed foundational skills essential to her future as a pilot. In JROTC, Cadet Butler serves as both Core Staff Projects Officer and Operations Director, and she is a member of the Physical Training Team and the Color Guard. Cadet Butler's commitment to health and wellness is reflected in her earning the Silver Star for Excellence and CPR certification. She has completed over 100 hours of community service. She's a member of the show choir and the cross-country team, and has maintained a 4.0 grade point average, which includes advanced placement courses. In the past 8 years of the Air Force JROTC Flight Academy, Mississippi has only had 6 cadets as primary participants, with 4 earning their private pilot license. Cadet Butler has the chance to make history this summer as the 5th Mississippi cadet to earn a private pilot license. Cadet Butler, you're welcome to make remarks at this time.
I just wanted to express my gratitude for my parents and for their support in me joining this RTC program, and for my brother for being my inspiration. And I'm so grateful for my instructors and for them pushing me to be my best, and for my education. And it's amazing to see how I've prioritized it and serving others and how it's paid off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I will say congratulations to all the young people, but also to the parents that are here. Let's give those parents a round of applause. And the administrators. And if you would like to exit, we'll give you 30 or 45 or a minute to do that, so that you don't have to sit here through the remainder of this meeting if you so choose. And the room empty. So. Let me cut my timer on. That's powerful. That is powerful.
It's impressive.
I know, that's when you see you.
Up there, we might say.
I understand. All right. At this time, we will have a report from our state superintendent, Dr. Evans.
Yes, sir. Thank you. One sidebar, I think Mississippi State's getting a bunch of really good ones because I think everybody I heard was going to Mississippi State. So for the most part, they're a winner today as well, for sure. Just a brief update on the happenings over since our last board meeting. We've been very busy. Just a little bit of an update on the ESSER funds extension. Staff across the agency, we've been working since March the 28th on developing a plan to re-ask for an extension of late liquidation for our ESSER funds. I literally got an email at 4:29. I can remember that because I was trying to walk out the door to go to my son's baseball game. That they were letting us know that they were canceling, if you will, terminating our right for late liquidation of the ESSER dollars. Turned around, I called Miss Judy right quick, Dr. Nelson, and I was like, does this mean what I think it means? And she's like, yes, actually it does. So we immediately started working at what that impact looks like for our state. We originally thought it was in the neighborhood of $180 million, but it's $137,211. Excuse me, $137,211,000 and some change. Remember, we had previously applied and been granted that late liquidation through 2026 for those dollars, and it was across 3 different pots, if you will. And those are broken up in MDE projects, and these were not like, this was dollars that flowed through us in grants and projects out to the districts. We are, I guess, on the hook, if you will, for $33 million. Our local districts are seeing a deficit of $89.4 million. We've already met with, we sent an email, we've already met with them once. There's, I believe, 68 districts that are involved in it. We met with them, we did a Teams meeting with all of them to update them and let them know what was going on. Because it was like, it's not like this came with a list of directions as to what to do. It was an email that just said, hey, you know, X is happening, go figure it out, which was complicated. As well as there's $15 million that's tied up with the governor's office. So I guess a lot of people have reasons to help push this thing forward. Luckily enough, though, the U.S. Department of Education officials did send out some specific some specific instructions, as to how to move forward with requesting that. We, next week, will have another Teams meeting with each of the districts, because theirs were broken up. Those dollars were primarily in one of 2 pots, or some had both. Some were construction. Somewhere in the neighborhood of about $40 million was tied up in finalizing construction projects. The rest was tied up into like learning loss, counseling, many on the academic side is where those other dollars were tied up. And just to say, I've said this multiple times, school districts in Mississippi did absolutely nothing wrong. The Mississippi Department of Education did absolutely nothing wrong. We followed the rules. We were granted permission to carry on with those projects. No new projects were initiated. This was just the completion of projects that were already ongoing, and that's what we did. And it's causing quite the burden on our districts. So again, we operate in good faith, and we're working. We're aggressively trying to seek those dollars for our state and our school district. So another topic, we received a letter week and a half, 2 weeks ago from USDE talking about Title VI, the compliance letter. We are in receipt of the letter from USDE, which requires states and districts to certify their compliance with ED's anti-discrimination obligations in order to continue receiving their federal assistance. What we've done, we are a local, as you know, we are a local control state. Local districts make those decisions. We don't make those decisions for them. So our the process we used is we sent that letter, communicated to our districts, hey, this is, sent the letter from USD, sent our communication. We created an email account for them to send it in to us if they would like, and we will send it on in our package from our state. But I think it's important to make the point that we did have some legislation that was passed into law that brought that anti-discrimination piece in our state. So we now have a state law that relates directly back to that. So we do have to comply, obviously, with that. So there's a mixed bag across the country, as to what's happening. So I don't really want to get into that because we'd be here for a while. But again, we provided the guidance out. We've had some number of districts that have already sent it back. So again, the department is absolutely not forcing anyone to do anything. That's up to them as to how they move forward. A legislative update, House and Senate, we know they both adjourned without passing a state budget. So that throws things into a bit of a flux for a while. Obviously, we do know the governor we anticipate him calling a special session, and that date hasn't been announced yet. So obviously every day is one day the clock ticks down to, we talk about a federal government shutdown, obviously state government would shut down. There would be no budget. So I don't think we're going to have that issue, but it's, we're working through that process. Advisory councils, we did meet with Mississippi Student Advisory Council this last week, I believe. Maybe it was the first of this week. It all runs together. It was a great meeting. Our students, they presented their group projects, and they were very timely. I was very impressed at the work that went in. It was various topics. Some of them involved mentoring student representatives on local boards, accountability grades, teacher recruitment, school safety, college and career preparation, as well as student cell phone policies. So very insightful there. They did a great job. We also during that time, the council members that were part of our advisory group from MSMS, I met with them and just had a conversation about some of the happenings with MSMS now, and it was a great opportunity to get some feedback from them. I really appreciated getting their feedback, but also having like that one-on-one conversation to kind of, talk through some of the potential issues and ways we can help. We also have had our teacher advisory council meetings. We met in Clinton, Oxford, and Gulfport, provided updates to teachers about obviously Mississippi's achievements as well as MDE initiatives, and we're getting their feedback. Really had no negative feedback from anybody about anything. It was very, very, very positive meetings. Speaking engagements, was lucky enough to have the opportunity to speak at the CCSSO Annual Legislative Conference. I spoke with State of Tennessee's Education Commissioner about staying the course and improving literacy outcomes. I also spoke about the work that we're doing towards an adolescent literacy initiative. The work we're doing there. Of course, we'll bring that to you when we get closer to completing it, for you to look at it and weigh in as a board and approval. Also had the opportunity to speak at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading state meeting, delivered the welcome, and had the opportunity to, just talk about Mississippi and the success there. It was, had several states that were attending that. It was Arizona, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Missouri, New Mexico, Oregon, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Texas. And the governor, he did speak there as well. So one actual stakeholder meeting, district stakeholder meeting I went to, Scott County had lots of districts now have leadership academies that they've created within their districts to help, cultivate that leadership, the homegrown approach, if you will, which I would encourage any district to do this. Because, not everybody wants to be a building administrator. They might want to participate this to be a leader from the classroom, to build those skills. And it helps cultivate that. But I went to their I'll call it graduation completion ceremony. It was really, really good. I appreciated that opportunity. Also, I've had several interviews since our last board meeting. Had an interview with the New York Times. Dr. Vanderford participated with me, and we talked about Mississippi's performance, specifically on the NAEP and our subgroups. We've seen performance increases that no other state has seen. And I tell people it's pretty simple. It's because we're Mississippians and we decided to do the right thing. And we take it serious to make sure that our children, our students are going to be successful moving forward. Also, had interviews with MPB, Super Talk, WTVA, and WLBT about the ESSER funding issues that I talked about earlier. I had an interview with Newsmax about Mississippi's NAEP scores and how, I think you saw where we did get some retweets of our stuff. I believe the Vice President of the United States did that. That was pretty exciting that he would weigh in on that. Anytime you're doing something right when someone at that level sees it. And a lot of that was based back to the research from the Urban Institute where they found, when adjusted for demographics, Mississippi fourth graders were number one in reading and eighth graders were number 4 nationwide. So that was a very positive period of time since our last board meeting. So that's all I have, sir.
Very well.
Tried to cull it down some.
You did well, Superintendent. You
Yes,
did
sir.
well.
I've got a question about ESSER. Has anyone here been in contact with the federal delegation from the state to get any kind of feel for whether or not those funds are likely to be reconsidered for the state? And if not, is there a separate set of planning going out that says, okay, if we don't get them, what do we do to terminate any of these programs that are in process?
Yes, sir. There has been also CCSSO working with them. Had a Zoom meeting, a monthly call with them yesterday. But we've also reached out to get letters of support for our submission of the request for extending the extended liquidation period. We're getting those letters of support, but there's not a lot of communication happening. Like in general, it's not because we're not seeking it. Now, I do think that by the end of next week, they're anticipating some decisions being made from USDE on some of these specific projects across states. So we're seeking it. There's not a lot of conversation happening. There's not a lot of feedback, but we are getting support from, obviously we've reached out to the governor, AGs, all of our congressional members of Congress. So we're covering all of our bases.
But you've got to assume every state is doing the exact same.
I would hope that they are, yes, sir. And as far as moving forward, our advice to districts was, and we took our own advice, was to pause what was happening, not terminate contracts, because, in the event the late liquidation is reinstated, there are spending requirements. And if you've terminated the contract, you can't meet those requirements. So that's a whole nother, that's another set of issues. And for the most part, the academic dollars that were tied up, just speaking generally, if it was like consulting contracts, you can terminate for the most part those for services not rendered, because the bottom line is there's not dollars there to pay for the services. But there is a substantial dollar amount that's out there, just like MDE, because federal dollars work on a reimbursement basis. Districts spend it, they send to us for reimbursement, we reimburse them, then we send to USDE for reimbursement, and we're somewhere, like I said, around 33 million that we have dispersed with no idea that we weren't going to get refunded. So, as we say in my part of the world, a lot of people have a lot of skin in the game. But the thing that worries me the most is the construction projects, because there is no terminate for convenience clause in an AIA contract. I've signed several of them over the years, and I've heard from a lot of districts, and their contractors, for the most part, are working with them. But best way for me to put it, that's a bad deal.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We don't get reimbursed that 33 million that's been spent.
I guess we're gonna pass the offering plate in here, so.
All right, you got $330, wasn't it?
Well, we'll have to work through it.
Have we had a legislative conversation from the state?
Yeah, I've had a couple. The conversation was out there about the state trying to make some of this whole. I've asked some of those leaders to, hey, let's run this down first, because I don't feel that it's appropriate for the first response is for Mississippians to have to cover the difference in something that, I mean, this is the equivalent of you going to a lender and them granting you a $500,000 builder's loan, you getting 400,000 into it and them saying, oh yeah, we're only going to give you 300, right? Literally, that's what it equates to. So we're trying to get this worked out I do not feel as though any state is going to get all their dollars. I think there's going to be some criteria. We're asking for every one of them. That's not how, it's not a negotiation, right? It's a, hey, we need what we were promised. But obviously we do think that there'll have to be some concessions that'll be made. And we're finding where those are on the front end. But we've got to prioritize helping people with the construction projects they have going on. That has to be a priority. Yes, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yes, sir.
And along those lines there, Dr. Evans, have we had any communication from DOE about, our funding for the next school year? July will be here before we know it.
So, we've been told that, obviously this only affects the ESSER dollars. We know that we've been told multiple times that our traditional title dollars will not be affected. I felt very comfortable about that statement before I got this email, the original email, which caused me, obviously you leave a meeting thinking that we're all good, and then 48 hours later you get an email where they're suspending 137 million of your dollars. It makes it difficult to have faith in anything anybody tells you. So we have been told, though, that those dollars are not going to be affected. And I want to believe that. We haven't heard anything different. But we'll have to, it's one of those things time will tell. But from a federal program standpoint, there is always the advice that you budget for 80%, basically, just to be conservative. That way you don't end up in a tight spot financially in a district. So definitely don't want that to happen, but you have to proceed with caution, in my opinion.
Excluding ESSER, what is our normal federal funding as a percent of our total budget that we pass through?
It is, give me just a minute. I actually have that. Hang on.
While you're looking, let's make sure I can appreciate Title I, IDEA, and child nutrition are codified in law. They're not grants that just some group of people are awarding to the schools. So the titles that are possibly just the grants that are awarded to schools may be in jeopardy, but the bones of the Title I program that's codified in laws would take more than just an executive order to change. It would have to take a change in Congress. So it gives, I think, local superintendents comfort that we'll probably get through this year, because those monies, as I appreciate in some place, please correct me, have already been appropriated. So it will be a year from now that if they blow the whole thing up, that we would begin to have to. Am I pretty accurate in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. 23% of our education budget comes from.
But it sounds like most of that's going to be protected under those specific.
We're hoping, but
sections.
People that make the decision also make the laws. So that's in this case. So it could be. Again, that's a heavy lift to get all that through Congress.
Oh, yeah.
That's a comfort, I guess, but not a true, I'm going to sleep well tonight on it. You know what I mean?
So, but 23% comes from federal dollars, 45% comes from state dollars, and 32% comes from your local dollars.
So my report was basically just that. I want to thank Lance, the staff. The communication from the original email to the present has been the best it could be, given what we know from this level. And I know there's there's going to be some panic anywhere, some concern, but I do appreciate from the board chair here that we've tried to get the information out to the department and tried to answer the questions with the knowledge that we have. And we just, as long as that transparency remains in place, I think we'll be in good shape. No matter what the outcome, we just have to deal with it as we go.
We got a great group of people that are helping pull all that off.
The department's doing a good job with that, so thank you for that communication. we come to the part of our meeting where it's just always for us, the fun part, where we have our student representatives. So I don't know if I want to do this before Kate does her presentation or after. So which would you prefer me to do? You want to make your presentation before I make you cry, or what you want to?
Mr. East, I'll let you go first.
Okay, all right. So I have a resolution that I would like to read this afternoon or this morning in honor of Kate and her 2 years of service on the state board. You do know that I'm from the coast, so I always have to make sure I put down Lafayette and not Lafayette, down there on the southern end of the state. And we had 2 youngsters, Kate and then her companion with the Air Force. So I'd like to read this resolution to you. You can come up here and stand beside State Superintendent and me. Not going to make you cry, but going to give a lot of good information so folks understand what they have really had around them for the last 2 years. Mom, you can stand up and get a little closer if you want to with that camera. I don't feel like you have to. All right, here we go. You ready? Ready. Whereas the Mississippi State Board of Education selected Kate Riddle through a competitive process as a student representative to the board to serve a 2-year term from June 2023 to April 2025. And whereas Ms. Riddle has exemplified educational excellence by maintaining a 4.3 weighted grade point average at Lafayette High School in the Lafayette County School District, while undertaking a rigorous curriculum that includes numerous advanced placement and honors courses. And whereas Ms. Riddle has actively participated and led various extracurricular activities, including serving as president of the Beta Club and National Honor Society, captain of the Lafayette High School dance team, and founder of the Spirit Committee, showcasing her commitment to academic excellence, community service, and school spirit. Whereas Ms. Riddle has represented her peers as the regional vice president of the National Student Board Member Association, advocating for the inclusion and support of student board members across the Southeast, and as co-leader of the State Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And whereas Ms. Riddle has been honored with numerous awards, including AP Scholar with honor and distinction, National Rural and Small Town Recognition, Principals List, Best in Fitness and Talent in the Distinguished Young Woman of Lafayette County Scholarship Program, and Senior Female Scholar Athlete at Lafayette High School. And whereas Ms. Riddle has demonstrated outstanding leadership and teamwork skills, public speaking abilities, and community engagement through her various volunteer experiences and certifications. And whereas Ms. Riddle has brought her experience as a student in the classroom and commitment to her role on the Mississippi State Board of Education to make sure Mississippi's public schools are always improving and children receive the education they deserve, therefore be it resolved that on the 7th day of April 2025, the Mississippi State Board of Education recognizes Kate Riddle for her exemplary service, her leadership, and her contributions to the Mississippi State Board of Education and to the advancement of education in Mississippi. Thank you for your service. I'll give you time to go back before you make the report. How about that?
Well, I can't believe this day has finally come. It's been a very fast 2 years, and as I look around the room this morning, I can't help but notice the immense support and encouragement radiating from every person in the room. Throughout my term on the board, I have witnessed firsthand the dedication the department and all its employees have for the betterment of our state. Being even a small part of this outstanding development will forever be one of my greatest accomplishments. Not only has Mississippi become a standout in education because of everyone's hard work, but having a student representative position in place makes Mississippi stand above the rest. Knowing my ideas and thoughts do not fall upon deaf ears is encouraging for not only myself, but for the forthcoming generations of student board members. I am so grateful to have been included in so many opportunities, both inside and outside of MDE. Not only has my self-confidence grown, but being a student representative has taught me how to speak in front of a crowd, take responsibility for my role, and be a leader in and out of the classroom. Aside from my monthly reports, real-life experience such as speaking on the Mississippi School Board Association Student Leadership Panel and participating in student representative interviews have taught me the value of my position, and I would encourage MDE and new student representatives to continue to take action outside of the boardroom. Being a student representative is an amazing feat, but being able to see the effects of your thoughts and actions firsthand is priceless. So take advantage of any speaking opportunities outside the boardroom as possible. I would also encourage all future student representatives to attend the MSBA new board member training. This definitely clarified the expectations for my role as a fresh junior in high school. It can be difficult to know what to expect. I would also recommend a training session either with MDE or with the senior student representative just to specify the new member expectations within our board meetings, since a student role varies widely from a traditional board member role. Additionally, I would love to see a greater use of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. While it is a fabulous opportunity for student voice, sometimes it can be difficult to collaborate effectively with so many students across such a wide state. Perhaps we could invoke a northern and southern regional break that could meet in person more often, with greater in-person work sessions and effective communication between groups. If MDE did invoke a regional break of the Advisory Council, I think it would be beneficial to include all grades of high school students. While some may argue that ninth grade students could be too young to participate in these discussions, I believe that students will continually rise to the bar that you set for them. By expecting greater from our younger students, we will see them rise to the challenge and soar over our expectations. I can confidently say that I am not the same girl who walked into this boardroom nearly 2 years ago. I would like to give many thanks to every board member and every person at MDE that has supported me throughout my tenure. Each and every one of you has been instrumental to my success, and I cannot thank you enough. This fall, I'll be attending the University of Mississippi as a Sally McDonald Barksdale Honors College Scholar and Ole Miss Women's Council Scholar on the early entry pharmacy track. I will forever be indebted to MDE for providing me with a plethora of opportunities that have taught me the value of leadership and character. Thank you for continually listening to my reports on college and career readiness, ACT prep, and AP course accessibility. And lastly, thank you to the entire Mississippi student body for allowing me to serve you. I hope to have made a positive, lasting effect and promise to commit to creating a better tomorrow. Thank you.
I will say for me personally, your push on ACT and AP classes will be what I remember the most about your tenure here, and making sure that we understand how important those classes and that preparation is across our entire state. So for me personally, thank you very much for keeping that in the spotlight, so to speak. Any other board members have a comment? All right.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Next up is Crosby Parker with our junior rep, Crosby.
Can you all hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. So, good morning. Following the Student Advisory Council meeting in Jackson, I'm excited to share some positive outcomes from our mentoring group. Since the event, I've been in contact with 6 students from across the state, each one of them expressing a desire to start a mentoring program in their own school district. The level of response is exactly what we were hoping for. It shows the conversations held during this meeting sparked real interest in peer-led solutions to student challenges. It also proves the power of connecting student leaders in one room to share ideas, experiences, and action plans. The Student Advisory Council provided a platform not only for students to be heard, but also to be motivated and equipped to lead change in their own communities. The fact that these students reached out independently and are now taking initiative to replicate a successful program is a major step forward for student-led initiatives in Mississippi. It demonstrates how much of an impact the Advisory Council can have, not just as a valuable one-day event, but as a launching pad for long-term progress in schools across the state. I give full credit to the Student Advisory Council team for sparking this momentum, and highly encourage MDE to continue and expand the program next year. Its value as a network-building opportunity and a catalyst for statewide improvement cannot be overstated. And finally, I would just like to thank Kate for all of her leadership. She has been such a guide for me in this role, and I can only hope that I can do the same for the next representative next year. Okay, I thank you enough. Thanks for everything that you've done. Thank you all.
Thank you. And Mom's back in the back, so how many miles has she put on the car? And Mom, you're a teacher as well, if we recall. So thank you for your service of letting us use Kate for a while and also in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Mr. East, I'd like to point out that we've been taking my car to the board meetings.
The mark of a good parent, making sure that you understand the expenses of getting your vehicle from point A to point B. So that's why we like these student reps. They fit in real well with the adult world really quickly, you guys. That's wonderful. You need to buy Mom lunch on the way back home, however, for at least having a ride with you, as a
This is
teenage
true.
driver. How about that? Can I work it that way?
Yes.
All right, we have 2 subcommittee reports. First up is school performance and accountability. Dr. McGehee.
Well, we had our meeting this morning prior to the board meeting, and Dr. Vanderford will be able to give us a presentation a little bit later.
Very well.
Right.
Internal Accountability Subcommittee, Bill Jacobs.
We did meet this morning too, and because Kate is leaving, we have to do a lot of work to replace her. And which she has set a goal for all the new student reps. And thank you for all your hard work and leadership. All right, we had a ad hoc committee, screening committee led by Matt Miller, who interviewed 30 applicants from across the state to fill Kate's shoes. And they came back with 10 junior representative finalists, which we approved today. And those are, and I'll start out by saying, if I mispronounce a name, y'all forgive me, these students. But the first one is Isaiah Barber from Tupelo School District, Tupelo High School. Amy Choi from Starkville, Oktibbeha School District, Starkville High School. Katie Chung, Starkville, Oktibbeha School District, Starkville High School. Bryce Denham, Lamar County School District, Oak Grove High School. Thad Garner, Chickasaw County School District, Houston High School. Yvonne Parshin, I hope I pronounced that right, excuse me if I didn't, from Starkville, Oktibbeha School District, Starkville High School. Abigail Ratcliffe, Gulfport School District, Gulfport High School. Angelina Tan from Starkville, Oktibbeha County School District, Starkville High School. Hayes Tyler from Kosciuszko School District, Kosciuszko High School. Michelle Sheen from Lamar County School District, Oak Grove High School. These semifinalists will be interviewed by the Internal Audit Subcommittee on May 1st and 2nd, of which then we'll pick up to the 4 top highest scoring ones, and the State Board will interview them on June the 18th. The State Board will appoint a representative and an alternate following that, and that person who's picked, his term will begin July 1st and end April 30, 2027. So congratulations to these 10 students.
Good work. Very good work. Any questions from the board on those 2 committees? All right. We will begin our agenda as established. Our first item is an action item. Ms. Clemens, Wendy Clemens, you're on deck.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Mississippi Public Schools Accountability Standards 2024 and the Mississippi Non-Public School Accountability Standards 2024 were approved by you guys, the State Board of Education, on February 20th, 2025, to go out for public comment. The changes were facilitated through the Office of Secondary Education, and they addressed Appendix A5, A6, 7, 8, 9, A12, and then I believe the glossary, as always. So that we did send it out for public comment. The period of time was open from March the 5th to April the 3rd. And as a result of that, we did receive 9 public comments. We did, as a result of the comments, of course, we went through those line by line and did make some clarifications. But we did not make any changes that would be considered substantive in nature. But in your backup, you will have what is a document. It's basically a 2-column document. And on the left-hand side, it has word by word the public comment that we received. And on the other side, it is the MDE response to that comment. Now, although we did receive 9 comments, within a comment, there may have been a number of questions. You'll also see that sometimes questions were repeated, but we tried to put them here in this 11-page document to ensure that you could see each comment. So I just want to briefly, some notable clarities that we made. I just want to go over those with you. The first of all, in the Appendix A12, we left out, it was an omission on our part, there's an ag class that students can get science credit for, and so we were notified of that, and of course we fixed that. There was a request to take our early release policy that's been in place for students for 6 years. It is only found in Appendix A6 under traditional diploma. We were asked to replicate that in the endorsement option sections, and so we added that to A7, A8, and A9. So if you're looking at the red line version in your backup, you may see a lot of red in those appendices, but it is a duplication of what has existed for all students for the last 6 years. We did also clarify the start date of this portfolio exhibit policy that we have in A5. That's a brand new item. It's a brand new process, and so we did get some comments for clarification on some things, which we of course appreciate. And so the first point of clarification was that if passed by you guys or approved by you guys, it will begin in the 25-26 school year. We did clarify that second semester seniors would be the eligible students to participate in the program. We also clarified that the eligibility requirement, as it relates to attendance, we initially said 85%. We did work with superintendents and make it 83%, but the expectation is that a student during their junior and senior year would maintain an 83% attendance rate, including excused and unexcused absences. So that allows basically a student their junior and senior year 61.2 days of absences and still be able to participate in the program. So we did talk about the portfolio that the student finalizes during the second semester of the senior year be kept in a cumulative folder or somewhere that can be accessed. And we also clarified the GPA eligibility requirement, which we established at a 2.0. That too is for the junior and the senior year. That's an overall GPA of a 2.0. And then the last thing, I think, maybe second to the last thing, we clarified the credentials and training that we would want students to participate in their second semester, senior year, if they are in the Bridge to Career course. And the last thing we clarified is we do expect students that if they are deficient on an end-of-course assessment, we do expect them to receive remediation. We do expect them to attempt to take the test when it's administered by their local school, but they are not required to increase their score every time they take it in order to be eligible for this class, okay? As a high school principal, I had some students take it the first time, and they were deficient. I mean, they didn't make it, and we remediated and remediated and remediated, and they never got any higher, okay? Sometimes they get test fatigue after a while, and they don't get higher. So we didn't want that to be a barrier for a child who's done everything that they need to do and really need an opportunity to be in this class, this Bridge to Career class. And I believe that was all the clarifications that we made, and I would be glad to entertain any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board? Not seeing any questions. Do I have a motion to approve? Ms. Werner?
Second.
Pruitt? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on that, Wendy.
Thank you.
Number 2 is Dr. Vanderford. And Allen.
Good morning. Item number 2 resembles or is basically the same item that the board approved in February of 2025 when we discussed the modifications to our consolidated state plan that we would submit to the Department of Education for approval. And at that time, I shared with you that the process was different this time because we usually go through our state public comment period first and then modify the plan after approval. But we were cited by the Office of Inspector General for not starting with the Department of Education first for approval and then following through the state public comment period. Alan will go into further detail, but we did submit the consolidated state plan for review. Got really a lot of great feedback on that, with only one area regarding the English language learner component of the model where they requested a little bit more information before we implement that, but they have agreed to work with us for the on-time implementation of this as well as the other changes. So the biggest change is around the new Mississippi readiness component in response to educators as well, but all of the stakeholder feedback to actually expand that component of our model to include more response to the educator workforce arena, as well as so it really focuses on employment, enrollment, and enlistment. So it expands on the college and career readiness component and the acceleration component. So we won't spend a lot of time going through the backup material unless you have some specific questions, because it's, like I said, the same as it was in February. But with this, we're just asking for you to grant approval for us to begin the Administrative Procedures Act comment for the period for public comment in Mississippi. So, Alan?
Yes, I'm prepared to step through the red line edits if you'd like me to address questions. There's going to be 2 things that are going to be reflected. One is we're operationalizing the changes that you have already considered in regard to the ESEA amendment that's been submitted to the U.S. Department of Education. And then the other is to update some language, particularly impacted by our transition to our new student information system, and how we assign grade levels to students with significant cognitive disabilities. So those are really the 2 main edits in the business rules, and of course, addressing the removal of U.S. history from the accountability model.
And to follow up with the conversation that we had with the subcommittee meeting, just as a reminder, the conversation about resetting the standards and the cuts for the A through F grading system, this is not in this proposal. So that will come to the board at a later date. It will be in place effective for the 25-26 school year, just as these edits will be, but we have not presented that plan for reestablishing or establishing the standards in accordance with state law. If you recall, once a certain percentage of districts and schools reached A and B status, then it requires us to reset the standards. But in conversations with the House and Senate leadership, they agreed that since we had these proposals, or this proposal was on the table and we were working to expand the readiness index within the model, that it made more sense to just do it all at one time so that we didn't set standards and then make changes to the business rules that were significant and require us to set standards again. But that proposal will come to the board at a later date. It was important that we establish the rules first, and then we'll determine the methodology for setting those standards. Bring that back to you.
Question. I think I understand the process. So this, y'all did this, sent it to the Department of Education. Did they approve it yet? Or
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They
already
did. Well, with the exception of.
Yeah, with
Well,
one exception.
unofficially, yeah, let me just
They have not, they have not officially approved the amendment request. They have given us some feedback and really just addressed that we need to nail down more of the specifics on changes to the English learner component of the accountability system. So we're still seeking official approval from them, and that may take some time. But there's not anything that we're proposing in our amendment that's novel, that other states are not doing, so we don't anticipate any problems.
And again, I know they chastised us because they wanted us to flip the process for them to say grace over it first. If we go through the process and it gets approved, like we go through our normal process, it gets approved. Approve it?
Yes, sir. It's been signaled that.
You've got enough.
Well, we do know what we need to respond to for the English language learner component.
Understanding you fix that, but
Yes,
once
sir.
it gets fixed,
We do
feel
not
comfortable it's gonna be
anticipate
approved.
any problems. And so what we'll do, we'll release this for APA and then come back to the board for final revisions on that for final approval.
I'm gonna say, we'll still have that, you still will have that final approval.
Sure.
During all that time.
I
see where you're.
I'm concerned, my concern, which you've alleviated, is we do all this work, the feds have given us indication, and then at the end of the day, they say, well, no, it's not good enough, or come up with something else. But if they've given y'all enough assurances, which is all I think we can ask for at this point, that satisfies my concern. Thank y'all.
How long is the comment period?
It's required to be 25 days.
So if we hadn't seen, this gets, if you look at the calendar, this is going to be effective August. And so we have a lot of things to do between now and August to get this piece done and then get the standards reset, right?
Yes, sir. But the methodology for the standards, for the reset
All we have to do
would
is just
be-
set the cuts.
That's right,
Formulate.
after the year. So it's,
That'll be the next administration.
We want to get this year's data in first before we reset standards, because we want to use this year's data. So that can't happen until we get the data back.
but
Will they
and then
start
our
the school
goal-
district, will they start the school year not knowing what the standard is?
Possibly. But we will work, or we'll do our best to get it done as quickly as possible into the school year, yeah.
And then our goal is to actually be able to run, like, both with the current official cut and then also run the data to show the districts using the new methodology what it would be. But they will start the year knowing the changes to the business rules.
This is the
and what
harder part, because the other one's just a formula.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? On the Office of Chief Accountability Officer, do I have a motion to approve item number 2 of the agenda?
So moved.
Miller?
Second.
Ronnie McGee. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Action item number 3. Paula, you're still up.
And so we'll ask Ms.
And then we're
Clemens
gonna
to
add
join us
Wendy
at
to
the
the team.
table. So going back, so item number 2, with this proposal, it would have an impact on graduation requirements. So in the proposal, as we've shared, to expand the Mississippi Readiness Index and to give that more weight in the system, there's a proposal to eliminate the U.S. history test and to take the 50 points that's currently in the model for U.S. history proficiency and include that in the Mississippi Readiness Index. So while the assessment system and the accountability system are completely independent of one another, they also are together. So it really, in the proposal, the question came up, well, does it make sense to continue the administration of the U.S. history test for a graduation requirement if the results of the assessment are not going to be used in the accountability system? So then we, with the task force, and had conversations about the fact that it's always been a goal for a number of years to look at the tests that are required. What can we eliminate? Could we reduce testing? Could we save money by not administering some of the tests, et cetera? And then looking at that globally, that really the only assessment that is not required in federal or state law is the U.S. history test. And so then the conversation among stakeholders and the accountability task force became, could we eliminate that test and utilize those 50 points to give a greater weight to the new Mississippi readiness component? So if that indeed becomes a reality with the board's final approval, then we would not require the U.S. history test in the proposal for item number 3, is to not require the continued administration of the U.S. history test as a high school end of course graduation requirement. So the documents that you have in item 3 are 2 state board policies and a version of the accountability standards where we would just need to make edits and eliminate all references to 4 required end of course assessments and change that to 3, and anywhere U.S. history is listed to eliminate the U.S. history language. And then there would be an impact to one of the appendices that allows a composite score option for graduation, where we basically average the 4 assessments together, divide by 4, and if you get a 1050, then that student has met a graduation requirement. Not one that's as popularly used as some of the others, but then we also, while we would be eliminating that composite score option because we would only be averaging 3 end of course assessments rather than 4, so while we're making an elimination to an option, we've also just added back another option that is very favorable in districts that Ms. Clemens discussed in item number 1 with that bridge to career course. So we'll be offering districts another option in lieu of passing those assessments. So we can expand on that. We talked a little bit, at pretty great length in the subcommittee meeting about that, because there's some differences of opinion, but we have emphasized that U.S. history, the course, will remain as a requirement for graduation. So we have courses and Carnegie units that are required, as well as the 4 end-of-course assessments. So it's only the assessment component of U.S. history that would be removed as a graduation requirement. And then there's what point that we talked about in the subcommittee and have talked about it at great length with the accountability task force is, we're one of few states that have high stakes assessments or high stakes end-of-course assessments for graduation. And so it's been quite a number of years since we've taken a look at that to see if we wanted to go a different route and not have any courses, but this would be our first step in removal of one of the 4.
I guess I just don't understand why we don't want, I know we're teaching American history, but why don't we want to prove that they are proficient in American history? I mean, that is, to me, a core part of education.
Well, they would demonstrate mastery through the passage of the course, through their grade in the course.
So what's the difference of demonstrating through the passage of the course and then having to pass it as an end of the year type of thing? I don't see the difference.
This proposal just eliminates one of the assessments that are not required in state or federal law.
So U.S. history classes are still required to take a final exam that provides proficiency for that entire year, correct?
Yes, that's great. And
District final.
and I would
So a district
add,
final exam, so
I would add another caveat. I being a former U.S. history teacher, and love it. The biggest concern I always had was that we don't assess students in any type of social studies course until May, their junior year, which is 1 year before they're to graduate high school. And so they take the class in May, they take the test in May, then if they are deficient, they've got a semester to show proficiency in that test. That's the first time they've ever been assessed in social studies. So there's no feeder benchmarking, and so I've always, although I love U.S. history, I eat, live, and breathe it. I always, as a practitioner, always had students that their senior year, they'd done everything that they needed to do, and then they get to May of their junior year and enter into their senior year, and they're behind the 8 ball, and we're working with them, so that they could, in fact, after 13 years, they could walk with their peers. So I don't believe necessarily that answers your question, but I wanted to bring it up as a caveat because this is what keeps me up at night kind of thing. But it's just something I think it's a point of reference. So just something that has always kind of concerned me as a practitioner.
And when the Accountability Task Force, and Alan could expand on this, they didn't just immediately say, oh, we'll take 50 points and add from U.S. history and add that back to the Mississippi Readiness component. This was a decision that they made over multiple meetings and over a great deal of time. And they looked at taking points, and because if you were going to expand the college and career readiness component and the acceleration component to give it more weight in the model, as stakeholders and educators across the state wanted to see, the points had to come from somewhere. So they talked about taking it from the growth of the lowest 25% in both ELA and math, and they talked about taking it just out of growth of ELA and math in general, our proficiency in ELA and math. And so, but I do think all of ELA and math was really protected, those points in the model, wouldn't you say, Alan, by all educators, that they just, and so it was just landed that this was the proposal of where the points would come from.
I do think the argument, though, that a passing grade in the class shows proficiency, a lot of people would like to add that across the board and save a lot of money, and if you didn't have any of these assessments, if you just use that, if that's going to be the standard, let's let that be the standard. I know that's legislative, but.
Mayor, we answer your question in a roundabout way.
I don't know.
I'm not happy, but you did.
I think to Mary's point, we had an APA process several years ago about Mississippi U.S. history and so on, and it was a 50-50, 60-40 back and forth conversation across our state. I think the important piece is that I don't want a Mississippi child to be in New York and be interviewed and ask how many stars are on the flag, and they don't know that. And I don't think we have that issue. Mississippi history course is strong, beginning of our country through Reconstruction and then Reconstruction to the present. They're getting a great dose of history for our state and for our country. And I'm going to just throw out a piece, and please correct me. I think you'll find that the passage rate will be strong in those classes and has also probably been pretty strong on a state test moving forward, but needing those points is part of it. And what I'm saying is I think that what we're teaching has been to show that we are pretty proficient on the state test. So losing it does not decline the curriculum and what we're teaching those kids every year. That makes sense?
And we also still have the preparation piece to get there too. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You get a touch of American history in middle school and in high school, and then Mississippi history is in the elementaries, and your local government is in the elementary world. I hope I'm not inaccurate.
Mississippi studies, yes, 4th grade and 8th or 9th grade, depending on the school configuration.
And I know it's involved a great deal to the positive for what we need to do and with our rich history in our state. So.
And that whole conversation around civics is a continual conversation of how do we improve it. Building the foundation, I'm sorry, from the younger grade. It is a continuous conversation. That in addition to, you know, and I know they're separate, but they kind of tie in the financial literacy conversation. How do we, it's creating the whole human, right? The whole piece. So all that conversation is happening and in the works. It's just that this is a way that this is a way to be able, because we know the accountability model drives what we do. It does. So this is a way for us to help reflect that impact of business and industry on the education system now to get you know, employees. And Mr. Reeves, you made a really good point as far as like the level of proficiency already that's based on the curriculum that's being taught and the standards. None of that will decrease. I mean, it won't, we'll have that same level of expectation. But it's just and it's also where the rubber meets the road. It's one assessment that is not required. It's a way to help relieve some of those burdens from an anxiety standpoint with students. I'm gonna be honest, you know, I've been there for 24 years, right? From a teacher standpoint, you know what I mean? So, but I completely, I understand your point. I see where you're going as far as like making sure that we're not having students that don't know how many stars are on the flag or.
Is there a way that, you know, I don't want to rock the boat because I know you guys do it.
This is a good conversation, Mary. Go right ahead.
But if we eliminate it now, it's like permanently eliminated. And it's really hard to go back after you've, you know, done it in, so to speak. And is there a way we can say, we're gonna do this for a 3-year trial period? And after 3 years, we're going to look at the assessment of these kids and see whether or not, you know, it's sometimes like a law. There are laws on the books that have been there since like the 1700s practically, and they never go away. And so I'd like to kind of just think about putting a trial period on before we vote to get rid of it completely. But that's just.
The only issue that would be associated with that idea, because it's like a soft opening. I'm with you. I see where you're going with it. Is it would cause, once those points are transitioned over into the readiness index, if you move those back, so say 3 years later, you said, hey, look, we're going to go back the other way. But now you completely upset that whole apple cart, if you will, of, you know, where the points lie in the model, you know, the distribution. So it's like you.
But if it's not working, then upset the bloody apple cart. I mean, you just don't want to say, we're going to do this, and I don't know, that's just, I think history is so important. American history is just, even from a former English teacher's point of view, if you don't have the history, you have a very hard time understanding the literature. And you're right, I don't want somebody in downtown New York saying, how many stars on the flag?
I think the plan is good, but it is the age-old argument that if you do not have a society that is adept in history, you're bound to repeat your past. I believe that the adjustments that we've made over the last 5-10 years have begun to help address that across our country and in our state, and we have to count on history teachers that understand that as their role is to make sure that we understand the history of our country and our state to be successful. I do not see us going backwards based on the plain increase of the curriculum and the rigor we have placed in it, the problem solving that we have placed in it, and it's not the old, it's no longer a matching curriculum. You know, here's this side, here's this side. It is a thinking curriculum. How did the Dolls Act affect in the present, and how is it still affecting us today? You know, they're just, how did the Teapot Dome collapse of Sinclair still affect business and banks today? So I think it's much deeper than it is. And so Mayor, I will tell you that I think the students are getting a history different from what I know I got, because mine was matching. What year did this happen? What year did this happen? Now it's much more of a problem-solving, reading and digging into it. So that's why I'm very comfortable, and personally why we're going with this. So I think it's something to look at going forward. Good points. Any other questions? Motion to approve. Matt Miller. Ayo. All in favor, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 1. Appreciate that vote.
I'm sorry for all the work that you've done.
Thank y'all.
Don't apologize for that vote.
No apology necessary.
There. All right, Ms. Wiggins. This isn't the longest number of contracts we've had in history, but we're getting close, aren't we?
If you would allow me to take a 30-second liberty, I want to welcome
Yes, please.
Ms. Kim to her new role as the COO. She has come in full speed ahead. I mean, it's wonderful. She answers the phone at 10 o'clock when I call. I know she probably thinks I'm crazy. So, but I appreciate her. Like, there was zero learning curve that I saw. It was just a full speed ahead. So thank you. And she jumped in a spot where she didn't know all of this was going to be happening.
Exactly.
Nothing like a good emergency to really pressure test the system, is it? So.
That's right. You're in the deep end, for sure. Good morning, Chairman East and Dr. Evans. Thank you, board members. As you will know, I've got 7 items to bring before you this morning, so we'll get right into it. The first one is brought on behalf of the state superintendent, and it is a contract with Studer Education for the purpose of developing a comprehensive strategic plan with an accompanying performance scorecard, and at an amount of $87,780. Have any
And
questions?
where's Studer Education, where they located?
Where are they
They're
located?
based out of Colorado.
Colorado.
Originally based out
Colorado.
of, yes. They do work all over the country, but they're based out of Colorado. And it was through a competitive RFP process that this decision, it's not just an arbitrary, Lance didn't decide we were doing this. So.
We received several proposals, and they received the highest score through an evaluation process.
I also learned during that process, I don't want to have to read all this. That's quite the work. That's a lot of work.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Questions on that one?
Okay. The next one is brought on behalf of the Office of Special Education. It is a contract with Gay, Jones, and Kuhn for the purpose of retaining legal services and supplementary legal counsel in support of the work in the Office of Special Education relative to enforcement and compliance with the IDEA Act. The third item is brought on behalf of the Office of Accountability, and it is a contract renewal with select vendors in support of, to provide updates and additional information to the Mississippi Recipes for Success database and tools to make sure that the database is congruent with the United States Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Services standards.
Questions about that one?
I circled select vendors. I printed this page, and that seemed really broad. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that should, we are approving select vendors. Any more there? People we've worked with before?
Yes.
It's a list that came from last year. We're going to repeat the list this year, or just kind of open up to whoever we want to do business with going forward?
No, actually, it is done through a competitive process.
I knew that.
Yes, we do. It's done through a competitive process. I believe I'm correct in this, but these are vendors who have provided the service in the past, but also prevailed through the competitive process by receiving highest ranking scores through an evaluation process. Yep. Did that answer your question?
It does. I just feel like the term select vendors in a list like this is just a little broad.
Sure.
That's all.
Any other questions, comments? All right, 4D.
Okay. 4D, the next one is brought on behalf of the Office of Career and Technical Education. It is a contract renewal with the Mississippi State University, the Research and Curriculum Unit, and this is work in support of services that they're providing with relation to occupational specific assessments for the performance of secondary and post-secondary CTE students. This is the ninth year of a 10th year procurement.
Questions, comments? E?
Okay. Next one is brought on behalf of the Office of the School and District of Transformation. This is an action to renew the employment agreement with Dr. Washington Cole IV to continue service as the interim superintendent for the Knoxville County School District.
I have a question. Is this also in concert with a pay increase for this position, for this role?
They're current,
No?
they're currently making.
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
So it's no, it's just their employment. There's
Right.
no, what they're making today is what this is based on. Thank you. Yes.
Similarly, approval for renewal of a contract with Dr. Jennifer Wilson to continue service as the interim superintendent for the Holmes County Consolidated School District. Next item is approval of the employment agreement for Dr. Earl Watkins to serve as interim superintendent of Yazoo County Municipal School District. The next one is an action to approve the employment agreement for Dr. Stanley K. Ellis to serve as the interim superintendent for the Humphreys County School District.
All four of these are renewals, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's an evaluation process where we look at performance of the districts and the improvements year over year.
That is the exact question I was confirming with the state superintendent that you were asking, and the answer to that is John Farrell will be handling those evaluations for us as and he can speak to it if you'd like for him to behind you. He stood up, he was ready to go.
I think he's getting ready to hit you on the back of the head, so thankfully.
Yeah, we do have an evaluation process with me being new in this position and our office being a new office. Our office, along with myself and Mike Ken, we've been evaluating throughout the year. We've had monthly meetings with them and those types of things. We are currently our office is going to redo and create a new evaluation tool for the interim superintendents in this deal because the current superintendent evaluation speaks a lot to report the board straight to that and everything. And of course, in this case right here, y'all are the board of these superintendents. They don't have a local school board. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new evaluation tool for them to where the evaluation process goes through our office more to where then if something as a needs to come before the board, to give our office the power to evaluate them the way that we look at that and those things that we expect them to do. Our process is going to be that we hope to have it completed by end of May so that we can go over with those superintendents. That way they know the expectations and the process, that whole evaluation system that we're going to create from our office and go through for the next school year.
It's a much more in-depth evaluation process than has been there.
Then my other question is, these are state contracts, but are they funded through local?
District.
Ad valorem district taxes, not state and these budgets?
Yes, sir, it's local.
Are they relative at all to the size of district, or is there any formula to figure out what that was? Do we have those things in line for size of district or level of complexity?
We're having to adjust some of that based on, that was set before we got here. So there's no real, what I could find, rhyme or reason to necessarily how some of that was done. And I will tell you, we're working on creating that, and John, Mr. Farrell can speak to it. I don't want to take the words out of his mouth, but all that's been looked at, and it has began with the current hiring of, or once you approve it, the hiring of a new superintendent in Humphreys County. So we're starting that because it has to go through like an attrition process, in order to make that change. Sure. Because it wouldn't be appropriate for us to say, hey, look, we're taking your salary down unless I'm in favor of removing you rather than taking your salary down. I don't operate like that. So if you're not doing a good job, you're not doing a good job. But there is no clear, defined rhyme or reason as to how it
But we're correcting that to Mr. Mayo's question, right? So board, the way I appreciate it, Dr. Farrell's office will do the evaluations of our superintendents. And of course, we have the responsibility of evaluating our state superintendent at some point during the course of this year. Is that pretty accurate, guys? All right, thank you.
And he'll report that back to y'all, those evaluations.
Are these recommendations for any increase in salary or at the same salary?
They're
Same
all the same
salary.
salary, except of course the new salary for the new interim superintendent is that new salary there. The rest of them are the same as the salary from this previous year.
And we've had these, a couple of, have been here for several years, right?
Yes, sir.
So when are we gonna be able to turn them back over to local control?
They're still, we've got homes, we had 2 Bs and 2 Cs this past year. So they're going there academically, they're head trending in the right direction. But they're still, they gotta go through that process to whether the amount of years that they're supposed to be start looking at. I would think in the next couple of years, we might get a couple of them, but then also there's a financial side too on some of the districts, so we gotta look at to make sure they clear everything through their financial audits and those types of things like that. But as currently right now, they're still kind of in the middle of it.
How's Subcommittee doing?
This past year, they were C. Yes, ma'am.
What's the typical duration if we end up stepping in, that a district stays under the supervision of the state? Is there a standard, is there a minimum, is there a?
There's a statute that says, it starts with a statute that says they have to be in there for a certain time period, and then, as Mr. Farrell said, there's benchmarks
Metrics, yeah.
academically and, in my opinion, even more important, as important financially.
Yeah, fiscal.
Because there are certain school districts on here, when they came to us, were, I think the polite way to say it, dumpster fires as financially.
Don't insult dumpsters on some of them.
That could be some dumpsters, yes. So,
You good? You want Aaron to weigh in on that as well? Everybody, Aaron, you want to make a few comments on that?
I was just going to say, from a historical perspective, the only one that has fallen under this new statutory scheme was Tunica. And we took over them in July of 2015, and they only just returned within the last year. So obviously, we had some data that we had to deal with everything with the pandemic, but we've only experienced one so
Yeah.
far. And they did not have any financial concerns.
Tunica was 100% academic,
They were academic and accreditation related.
and they also, they were nervous about coming out of it and wanted Margie to stay, I think, for another year or two to make sure we were able to turn it back over to the district. So past the timeline of which they were required to do, that local school board still wanted some guidance. And of course, we honored Margie Poole, a couple of 3 meetings ago for taking care of Tunica. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Matt. Any other comments? I think that finishes up all of these, so let's make sure we can do this. On the Office of Chief Operations Officer, do I have a motion to approve items 4A through 4H?
So moved.
Mr. Pruitt,
Second?
Ms. Werner, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any questions or comments? Well, we've already done the agenda, so do I have approval to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Mayo, Mr. Miller,
A through L.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have a need for executive session? We do not. Board members' comments, I believe, let me turn this page here, make sure we, any reportings on meetings that have been attended? Any approval for attendance of meetings? In other business, our May board meeting will be held on May 15th, 2025, here in Jackson, Mississippi, at the Central High School building in the 4th floor boardroom, starting at 10 o'clock a.m. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Miller?
Second.
Mr. Mayo? Thank you very much for your service today. I think lunch is downstairs, and have a safe journey home if you decide to part now.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations.